Hello, friends. I'm Janine, and welcome to JC Lowe's Next Chapter. I am so glad you stopped by today. If you're new here, this channel is all about retirement, caregiving, finding purpose, and new beginnings. Today, I want to share a very personal story why I retired after 22 years of teaching. Many people have asked me this question. Did you retire because you didn't like teaching anymore? Well, the truth is, the answer isn't simple. There wasn't one moment when I woke up and decided to retire. It was a combination of things that had built up over many years. And when I look back now, I can clearly see that retirement wasn't really an ending. It was the beginning of my next chapter. The biggest reason I retired was because of my family. In 2023, my father passed away. My parents had been married since 1962. They spent over 60 years together and they were rarely apart. If you've ever known a couple like that, you know how deeply connected they become. They share their lives, their routines, their dreams, and their daily moments together. When my father passed away, it changed everything. It was difficult for our entire family, but it was especially hard on my mother. Suddenly, my mother was facing life without the person she had spent most of her life with. As the oldest of three daughters, I felt a strong responsibility to care for her. That meant taking her to doctor's appointments, preparing meals, helping around the house, and sometimes it simply meant sitting with her so she wouldn't feel so alone. As many caregivers know, it's often the little things that matter most. It's not always about doing the big task. It's about being present, listening, spending time together when someone needs companionship. And as I tried to balance teaching and caregiving, I found myself being pulled in two different directions. My students deserved my best, but my mother needed my best. And I slowly realized that I couldn't give 100% to both. And that realization was difficult because teaching had been a huge part of my identity for over 2 decades. I wasn't just leaving a job, I was leaving a profession that had shaped a large part of my life. When I first became a teacher in my late 30s, I loved it. I loved helping students learn. I loved seeing that moment when something finally clicked and a student understood a concept they had struggled with. Those moments, they're hard to describe unless you've experienced them. As teachers, we don't always see immediate results. We try to plant those little seeds and hope that they'll grow later. But every now and then, you get to see a student succeed right in front of you, and those moments make all the hard work worthwhile. For many years, I felt that way. But over time, teaching became more challenging for me. Like many educators, I was constantly expected to learn new things and adapt to changing requirements. When I first started teaching, I only had a bachelor's degree. Then a few years later, I returned to school to earn my master's degree while I was teaching full time. And that meant spending my days in the classroom and my evenings going to class, working on assignments, doing research papers. And it wasn't easy, but I did it because I wanted to grow professionally and be a better teacher. Years later, I found myself back in online classes because the state of Tennessee added a computer science requirement for graduation. And my school system was phasing out my content area to pull in this computer science course. So I needed to go back to school to get the additional coursework to earn that endorsement so I could teach those classes. I always enjoyed learning new things. In fact, I believe teachers should continue learning. But this computer science course was challenging for me. It had math and programming in it, and those were never my strongest areas. And I was also teaching full time, trying to manage everything that came with the job, trying to take care of my house, trying to take care of my mother. But I did earn that endorsement, and I'm proud of my accomplishment. And teaching that computer science class, it was a challenge for me too. There was no textbooks. The school did purchase an online curriculum to help me, but the problem was the lessons in that curriculum only kept the students engaged for just a small portion of the class period, and I taught 90-minute blocks. That meant every evening I was still coming home searching for activities and resources to fill that remaining time to keep students engaged and learning. Night after night, week after week, I searched for materials to keep my students engaged. It felt like the work would never stop. Many teachers understand exactly what I'm talking about. The school day ends, but the work doesn't. I took the work home with me. I thought about lessons while I was cooking dinner. I thought about students while I was trying to relax. I spent weekends grading papers. I was spending all my time working. Teaching isn't just a job. For many teachers, it becomes a lifestyle. Another challenge I was facing was student engagement. Every student comes to school carrying their own struggles, circumstances, and challenges. And over the years, I noticed it became harder to keep students focused and motivated. Some students loved learning, some students were excited to be at school, but there were a lot of students who faced challenges outside of school that made learning more difficult for them. And as a teacher, I wanted to help every student succeed. But sometimes I felt like I was working harder than my students, and that was exhausting. Instead of spending all my time teaching, I often found myself spending more time encouraging participation, redirecting student behavior, trying to keep students focused, engaged, and learning. Then there were those observations and evaluations, the paperwork, the after school meetings. And even after teaching for more than 20 years, I still found those observations and evaluations to be stressful. And the responsibilities didn't stop when the school day ended. I also sponsored a student club that required me to transport students 4 hours away in the spring and spend 3 nights in a hotel so they could compete in competitive events. And for many years, that was one of my favorite parts of teaching. I enjoyed helping students develop leadership skills and compete in events that allowed them to showcase what they had learned in the classroom. Trips to these competitions and watching students grow in confidence, that was rewarding. And I enjoyed those experiences and the wonderful memories that I have of them. But over time, sponsoring the club became more difficult. Membership numbers declined, fundraising became harder, planning events required more time and energy, and the responsibilities kept growing while my energy was running lower. I was also involved in planning for junior and senior prom. If you have never helped organize a prom, let me tell you, it is a huge undertaking. You have to reserve a venue, there's decorations to plan for, food to organize, fundraising to coordinate, budgets you have to manage, and after months of preparation, that event itself only lasts a few hours. And then afterward, there's the cleanup. It's rewarding to see students dress up and enjoy the evening, but it's also a tremendous amount of work. And by this point in my career, I felt like I was carrying more responsibilities than ever before. And at the same time, my mother needed me more than ever. I was exhausted physically, mentally, emotionally, and I began asking myself an important question. What season of life am I in now? For more than 2 decades, I had spent my life taking care of students. Now I had a parent who needed me, and I knew that the opportunity to spend time with my mother would not last forever. Time is short. Teaching would always be there if I chose to go back to it, but the time with my mother was limited. And that realization changed everything for me. When people ask me why I retired after 22 years of teaching, my answer is this: I retired because my priorities changed. I retired because I was burnt out. I retired because I wanted to be present for my mother. I retired because I recognized that this season of my life required something different from me. Do I miss teaching? Yeah, there are some things I miss about it. I miss seeing young people learn and grow. I miss those moments when a student finally understands something that they've been struggling with. But no, I don't miss the constant stress, the constant work, and I don't regret my decision to retire. One of the greatest gifts retirement gave me was time. Time I could never get back. I got to spend time with my mother. We shared conversations, meals, doctor's appointments. Many days in the morning, we would sit outside on the porch swing, sipping coffee. Later in the day, we would talk and watch TV. And there were some days I was just there to watch her sleep. And every moment I spent with my mother is now precious memories. My mom, she passed away in 2025. And today I am incredibly grateful for the time that we shared together during the last 2 years after my father passed away. If I had stayed in the classroom, I would have missed out on those moments with my mother. And those moments would have been moments I could never replace. Looking back now, I know I made the right decision. If you're facing a major life change, maybe you're considering retirement, becoming a caregiver, changing careers, or starting over in some way, I want to encourage you. It's okay to choose family. It's okay to choose your health. It's okay to recognize that one season of life has ended and another is beginning. Closing one chapter doesn't mean you failed. Sometimes it means you've grown. Sometimes it means you're making room for what matters most. And sometimes it means you're preparing for the next chapter of your story. Thank you so much for listening to mine. If you've experienced retirement, caregiving, or another major life transition, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. If you'd like to join me as I share more about retirement, caregiving, finding purpose, and building a meaningful life after a major transition, I'd love for you to subscribe to JC Lowe's Next Chapter. Until then, take care of yourself, take care of the people you love, and I will see you in the next video.